What's up, y'all? Sparty here, and I want to talk about the word on in the tech circle about the LG G6 possibly, rather than getting the Snapdragon 835, it getting the Snapdragon 821. Now, for me personally, that's not necessarily an issue because the Snapdragon 821 is not even a bad chipset. You could look at phones at like the Google Pixel C, the Pixel and the Pixel XL, and you could also look at like the OnePlus 3, and you could see that the Snapdragon 821 is a actual very good and very capable chipset. And for it to be used for the first part of this year isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because once you think about it, it's like, sure, Snapdragon 835 chips will be available for use right now, but not necessarily for mass production. They may be ready, but they can't be mass produced quite yet. So they need time to get that down. And that's exactly what I want to talk about here. A lot of like tech websites and stuff talk about how not necessarily how it'll be a bad thing, but it's not necessarily going to be a great phone because it's not going to have the Snapdragon 835. But mind you, motherfuckers like all they did was praise the LG G4 and the LG V10, despite the fact that it had the Snapdragon 808 and not the 810. And this isn't the same case with the 810 versus the 808. It's not. The 835 just isn't ready to be used yet because it hasn't been finished yet. It isn't the 810 where it's overheating because we haven't had phones with the 835 yet. At least mass market ones. Now, the main reason I got these two phones out, because they are LG phones, but also because of the simple fact to show you guys that this had the Snapdragon 808, and you could pretty much just count the V10 in this circle too. The V10 in this had the 808. Nobody had performance issues really. My dad has used this for a whole year. I have used this for about 8 months. Never had it. Not 8 months, like 5, 6 months before I gave it to him. I actually preferred to use this over the S6, honestly, because honestly, it really, it was more optimized. Software was more polished. And a comment that I've seen on a video that I commented on, somebody said, yeah, Samsung phones may be sleeker, but that doesn't necessarily make them better because of the simple fact that their phones aren't necessarily the best optimized. They may be the most bought Android phone, but they're not the most optimized. And when you look at an LG phone, and you look at an HTC phone, and even a OnePlus phone in some cases, which I don't have one. I had the OnePlus One, but I had to give that up for reasons. Samsung phones tend to have certain problems that people equate to TouchWiz. And I don't know how the Samsung Experience user interface will do in that regard. I'll have to see once I get it on my S7 and my Note 5 to let you guys know how it is. But as soon as I do, I will do an update video on those. But in the same, probably in a different style than how I did the Nougat overview for the tablet K1, which is essentially, it wasn't much. I'm going to do more on that. I said I will in like 2 days or so, or a day or two. I don't know why I'm saying weird shit. But as far as the LG G6 going for a Snapdragon 821 and not a Snapdragon 835, it's not the end of the world. We've come to the point where chipsets aren't necessarily the fucking the end all be all to performance. Apple just came out with a 4-core chipset, a quad core chipset. They've been using dual core for the longest time now, and their phones have still been more or as powerful as like Snapdragon or even Exynos chipset powered phones. The only ones that come to mind that beat them out are like high silicon Kirin chipsets from Huawei and stuff like that. That's pretty much it. Sorry, I'm getting fucking messages through my Facebook chat, but it's coming up on the screen as I'm looking at it. But as soon as it's available, the 835, guess what? It'll be in the V40. I want to call it the V40 because they technically already did a V35, so it'd be kind of stupid to call it the V30. But as far as this goes, I'm not gonna make this a super long video. I'm probably just gonna stop it here pretty soon. But I just want to say that it's not necessarily the end of the world if LG goes with the 821. We've come far enough where it's not like going from the 808 to like the 820 or something. It's not that. Even if it is, the 820 and the 821 aren't shit chipsets. It just depends on how you optimize your user interface and how you make it so that it runs Android well. And LG has done a very good job with the G5 as well as the V20 with optimizing their software to work well. Despite the few phones that have had boot loops, I haven't had the issues with the V20. I've had one do that with the G5, but guess what? You just return it and get a new one, exchange it, and you'll be good. It's not the end of the world. It's not an exploding battery or combusting battery issue. I'm tired of calling it exploding because that's not really what happened. But as far as this phone goes, and even the G4, which I still love to this day, this has the 820 for quad core, hexa-core 808. This is more efficient than this in a lot of ways. And I've even tested it from my S7 and my V20. The V20 kills the S7 in a lot of shit. And it really does. And a lot of performance shit. And for you to try to say that I'm biased, I'm not. I am biased because I bought the fucking phones and I'm reviewing them. There has to be biased. If you want an unbiased reviewer, you may as well, that's not necessarily what you go to a review for. It's kind of, just go to the regular ass reviews you see on the site that say, most amazing phone ever, CNET, and shit like that. Go to that if you want that. But me, I'm telling you how I'm telling it like it is. And you guys saw how my S7 likes to fuck up while I use it on camera, even compared to my Note 5. And it's not something that happens rarely. If it happens rarely, I would say that, but it happens constantly. And that's my issue. Samsung needs to learn how to optimize their shit. And I'm not necessarily worried about LG going just to the 821, just doing a slight jump, because it's not the end of the world, honestly. Because if it can compete well until the V40, which again, that's what I'm calling it, which will have the Snapdragon 835, or maybe even better around that time, then cool. I don't care. I wasn't really planning on getting the G6 anyway, not right out the gate. But as long as the G6 performs admirably, Even if it just has 4 gigs of RAM, because guess what? The OnePlus 3 has 6 gigs of RAM and still has RAM management issues. So does that necessarily, is it necessarily a bad thing to talk about a 4 gig of RAM phone? We have an 8 gig of RAM phone coming out there, Asus Zenfone AR. And I really want to get that, actually. I'm really quite interested in that. But anyway, as far as this video goes, that's it. 4 gigs of RAM on a phone ain't necessarily bad. It's standard, but whatever. The Snapdragon 821 in a flagship phone for this year, the first flagship phone of this year when the Snapdragon 835 isn't ready yet, is not the end of the world. Let me know what you guys think. I just wanted to make this video real quick, just to give you guys an update. Let me know if you guys want to see more things like this, where I just like talk about recent news and rumors and stuff. I will try and do more better production value with this, like probably just make them like edit pictures and stuff in it of like rumored phones and stuff like that. But anyway, that's pretty much it. This is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching and have a good one.